So the entire world is kind of in a panic right now. Nobody really seems to know what to do. The news is just going absolutely crazy with the news stories that they can kind of get out of this entire thing. And honestly, that's nothing new. No pun intended there. But yeah, you guys know how the media is. Whenever they can get some stories out of something like this, they're going to go absolutely crazy with it. And well, you know, when the world is facing possibly one of the worst epidemics that it's seen in a long time, yeah, well, of course, they're going to go ahead and get something out of it. So you guys probably have heard about this coronavirus that has been kind of, well, spreading around the planet and kind of, you know, throwing the whole world into a frenzy. It's become a pretty hot button issue, and honestly, I'm kind of scared, I'm not going to lie, because, well, it's a pretty serious thing, but I mean, I don't think I have anything to worry about personally. I mean, I barely even leave the house, man. I just kind of sit around the house. I play like Black Ops 2 Plutonium and just like kind of chill out. Play like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and just hang out. I don't really do too much, you know? I'm not out here like high-fiving strangers and wiping my nose and like going and eating a hamburger afterwards or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know if I have to personally worry about this kind of thing coming and getting me. I don't know. But I know a lot of you guys, like you guys go outside all the time, right? You guys are out here just walking around out in public. You guys are high-fiving one another. You guys are handshaking in business meetings. I don't know. I don't know what you guys do in your personal lives, but this is something that has become a pretty global thing. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder when it's going to become like a global health emergency, because the World Health Organization has been kind of like hesitant to really, you know, declare it a world health emergency. But I think in the coming days, they're finally going to do it, especially with the progress that this is kind of making now and with all of the information that's starting to kind of rapidly develop at this point. So the coronavirus basically originated in Wuhan, China, which honestly, it's not even like really a city that like, it's not one of the ones that you think of right off the top of your head. At least I don't personally, you know, I'm thinking of like Beijing if I'm thinking of anywhere in China, but this city called Wuhan in China, which is actually a pretty major city, was where this all kind of originated here in this little like market square, right? Where people were selling live animals and livestock, things like that. And that's kind of the problem, because these coronaviruses, it's actually like a family of viruses. It's not one specific disease. It's not anything like that. There's actually a family of coronaviruses, and the strain that is actually affecting people in what we know now as the coronavirus is just actually one strain of a wider family of coronaviruses. But this family of viruses actually affects all kinds of mammals, and it affects humans, right? So farm animals, they actually do suffer from these kinds of things. Cows and pigs can get it. Chickens can get it. Humans obviously can get it. We know that now. So the fact that it started in this area where a lot of livestock was being sold, where a lot of these farm animals were being sold, things like that, obviously I think can kind of, I don't know if it's something that I should just straight up say is like, that's the cause, but I mean, something that caused it, maybe that's something that happened, who knows yet. We will probably find out that kind of information in the coming days. But the outbreak first started as an emerging cluster with these people who were first thought to really just like have pneumonia, which I mean, it can be serious, but I mean, it's not like super serious, right? It's not some coronavirus outbreak, right? And these people were stall holders that worked at this wholesale market, which sold that sold live animals, it sold like seafood and all kinds of things. I mean, it didn't just sell like only livestock or anything like that, but the strain that's actually affecting people now has been found to be at least 70% similar in genome sequence to SARS. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the same severity or the same lethality. They don't really know that part yet. Like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the exact same when it comes down to that kind of stuff, you know. But what we do know is it is pretty severe. I mean, as of today, which is January 24th, 2020, in just China alone, there are 916 confirmed cases, 26 people dead. The United States has now 2 confirmed cases. South Korea has 2 confirmed. Japan 2 confirmed. France 2 confirmed. Other places like Hong Kong, Thailand, Singapore, Taiwan, Vietnam, Nepal, they all have confirmed cases. Countries like Canada, the United Kingdom, Russia, Brazil, they're all looking into what they believe might be cases of this virus in their country, which means obviously this is something that is spreading worldwide. It's not like this is it's not an isolated incident, right? Like we're not looking at something that's happening in one area like it was when it first was starting. I mean, it first started out, like I said, in Wuhan, which by the way has been placed under a complete quarantine, but now, yeah, it's looking like it's going to become an international thing, which is definitely very worrisome. Now, to get back to Wuhan being under quarantine, basically all public transport in and out of the entire city is done right now. Like, you can't get a bus in and out of the city. You're not getting on a train going into Wuhan. They basically don't want people going in and out because it is the place where it all kind of started. They don't really know how many people there have it. They don't know what's causing it. And they don't want this turning into a bigger problem than it already is. But unfortunately, as this whole thing has spread, more nearby cities in China have now also been placed under quarantine as of today, which means that obviously the virus is spreading, and it means that there is definitely problems arising in China. Now, China is definitely the hardest stricken country when it comes to this right now. But I mean, as we see this spreading, it looks like it's just going to get worse from here on out. I mean, it's like people are playing Plague Inc. in real life, which, by the way, I do want to add this. This is something kind of ironic, but this game actually has now topped the charts in China over the last few days, as this coronavirus has affected people, as people think that this might be the way to cope with the entire thing and get over their fear, I guess, of the virus. The game's been out for 8 years, by the way, but on Wednesday, it became the best-selling app in China, so yeah, that's kind of weird, right? But like I said, China is definitely not the only place on Earth that is dealing with this coronavirus, even though it is right now the hardest-stricken place on the planet. And what I mean by that is, here in the US, the complete panic of this entire thing is now peaking out, because now today the second case of coronavirus has been confirmed near Chicago. In Illinois, another case, well, I guess to say the first case that was actually detected here in the United States happened in Seattle. So 2 major cities in the US have been, I guess, the breeding grounds for the coronavirus here in the United States. I'm pretty sure with the CDC announcing that dozens of other cases in the United States are suspected and they are being investigated, that we will be seeing in the coming days that more cases are here in the United States. But the weird thing is it seems like the World Health Organization, the CDC, like they won't declare this like some sort of public health emergency, even though this definitely has the potential to become one. I think personally, and of course, personal opinion here, I do want to go ahead and say that, I shouldn't even have to say this, but I think that maybe they should go ahead and actually do something about this before, it spreads to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of fucking people. Why don't we declare like an emergency now and actually try and do something to contain it, restrict travel between countries that are actually seeing infections, between cities that are seeing infections, and make sure that people aren't, spreading the disease between one another, and try to do whatever we can to limit this from becoming like, a global epidemic that like kills tens of thousands of people, because we really don't need another one of these big like Ebola scares, because I remember back, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, however long it's been now, when Ebola kind of came along and everybody freaked out for like a year, how big that was, man. We really don't need one of those kinds of things coming back around. I mean, out of most of the deaths that have been linked to the virus, pretty much all of them have happened in or around Wuhan. I mean, like 2 of them I think have happened outside of Wuhan, which means that like when you look at all the deaths, it seems like the deaths are pretty much happening where it started. But I don't think it's gonna stay that way forever. And I don't think this is gonna be like some virus that just like tomorrow, like there's no more cases of it being reported. It's not just gonna disappear. I mean, viruses don't just go away like that. I mean, you gotta do something to proactively combat them and make sure that they go away. So the official numbers, I think, are that 63 cases across 22 states are currently under investigation. But go ahead and consider this. The virus is considered a, quote, serious public health threat, but the immediate risk to the general American public is, quote, considered low at this time. The CDC said that 11 of those cases tested had already come back negative. So, I mean, there's some contradiction, it seems like, in that statement alone right there, because that doesn't even make sense. Like, I mean, it's considered a serious public health threat. Even here in the United States, like they're considering it quote unquote a serious public health threat, but it's not like an emergency, right? But the risk to the general American public is considered low at this time, even though that there are Americans who have the disease. They're being screened positive with the disease. Even though 11 cases have come back negative, there are people who have it. It's becoming a global thing. It's not like, only China has it at this point. Like, people from France have it. There's people from Japan and South Korea who have it. They can spread it to other people, and the next thing you know, unknowingly they spread it to other people. They travel here, they spread it to people, they unknowingly spread it to people, and then they find out that they have it, but they've unknowingly spread it to people. That's how this kind of stuff happens. I mean, at this point, like, it hasn't become like, some sort of serious, like, global thing where, like, there's riots in the streets, people are looting, people are fucking starving to death because, the entire backbone of society society has collapsed, but I mean, it's getting worrisome, right? Like, when I first heard about this, I was like, okay, so there's like some sort of disease outbreak going on in China, and then they were like, oh, okay, by the way, people in the US now have it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that now it's getting scary, which, yeah, that's kind of my fault for, you know, having my head so far up my ass, but at the same time, you know, like, it gets a lot more worrisome when it's getting closer and closer to you, but at the same time, like, maybe we should do something to combat this? But it feels weird with all this kind of going on. 2020 is off to an insane start, if we're being honest with ourselves. I didn't really think that we were going to be playing Call of Duty Zombies out here in the streets this early on, but apparently this is what's going down, so odd situation. It's probably going to develop pretty rapidly. I mean, like I said, it's pretty new. The whole thing is, like, they only figured this whole thing out, like, within the last month, so they don't even know that much about this whole virus yet. It's not like they don't even have a cure for it. Like, they don't have a cure. They don't really have that much, like, treatment for it. I think at this point, all they can really do is, like, treat your symptoms and, like, pretty much hope that you'll turn out okay. So at this point, you know, they got a lot to figure out. They got a pretty far road ahead of them when it comes to making sure that this whole thing is contained. But yeah, the world's pretty much in frenzy right now over this whole thing. The news is lighting up with it. People are, it seems like, pretty afraid, and I think justifiably so. So hopefully everything turns out okay, though. It's weird that we went from thinking that we were all going to be killed in World War III to thinking that we were all going to be killed in World War Z. Anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for this video, though, you guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on my channel. Follow me over on Twitter at @SubToOptimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. It's a surefire way to get notifications of all my newest content. Join the Discord down below. Lots of great things going on down there as well. Thank you to my channel members. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, not going outside, hand signing out.